The late afternoon sun streamed through the large glass windows of Greenleaf Market, casting long, warm streaks across the polished floors. The hum of refrigerators and the soft chatter of customers created a rhythm that Emily Parker had grown accustomed to over the past 3 years. For her, the grocery store wasn't just a job. It was a stage where she quietly tried to make someone's day a little brighter, a little gentler. Emily's shifts were long, the hours monotonous, and the pay barely enough to cover her rent and her mother's medical bills. Yet, she carried herself with quiet pride. She believed in small kindnesses, holding a door for an elderly customer, offering a reassuring smile to a child who had dropped their favorite snack, or simply listening to someone vent their frustrations about a bad day. It wasn't much, but in a world that often felt hurried and harsh, Emily thought small kindnesses mattered. She adjusted her apron and wiped down aisle 9, the section that carried most of the store's snack foods. Crunchy chips, colorful candy, and neatly stacked cereal boxes filled the shelves. She straightened the packages, humming a tune under her breath, aware that even the smallest details made the store feel welcoming. Behind the counter, Mr. Gibson, the store manager, prowled with the intensity of a hawk. His sharp eyes missed nothing, and his patience for Emily's small gestures of compassion was non-existent. "Parker," he barked, snapping her out of her thoughts. "I've been over this a dozen times. Those shelves aren't straight. Move faster, or you'll be the one moving out." Emily's stomach twisted, but she kept her voice calm. "Yes, sir. I'll fix it right away." Inside, her heart ached not for herself, but for the customers, the ones who might be rushing, stressed, or struggling. She thought of the little joy she could offer, no matter how small. The store door jingled, and Emily looked up. A man entered with a quiet authority, tall, dressed impeccably in a tailored navy suit. But what caught her attention wasn't him. It was the small girl holding tightly to his hand. She was about 7, with big brown eyes that seemed to absorb everything around her. Her tiny hands pressed over her ears, and she flinched at the loud buzz of the automatic doors. The man, Alexander Hartwell, Emily realized, was talking softly to her, attempting to soothe her. But his words fell into the chaos of the crowded store. The little girl's steps faltered. Her eyes darted toward the bright lights and the clanging shopping carts, her body tense, rigid, trembling with every passing second. Emily felt an immediate pull toward her. She had always been drawn to helping children, instinctively understanding the fragility and purity of their emotions. Something in this moment tugged at her heart, like no shift she had ever worked before. She set down the stack of cereal boxes she had been arranging and approached cautiously. "Hi there," she said softly, kneeling to meet the girl's gaze. Her voice was calm, warm, and steady. "Are you okay?" The little girl flinched, drawing herself closer to Alexander, who whispered, "Lily, it's okay. You're safe." Emily smiled gently at both of them. "I can help. My name is Emily. Can I sit with you for a minute?" Lily's eyes flicked between her father and Emily. Slowly, as if weighing the kindness in Emily's voice, she nodded ever so slightly. Emily reached into her apron pocket and pulled out a small, blue fabric flower. "This is my lucky flower," she said softly. "Whenever things feel too loud or too scary, I hold it in my hand and take a deep breath. Want to try it with me?" Lily hesitated, then mimicked Emily's motion, holding the flower gently, taking a breath in and out. Emily guided her, matching her movements. The chaos of the store seemed to shrink around them. Alexander's stern demeanor softened as he watched. No one had ever managed to calm Lily this way. A lump formed in his throat. Just as relief settled over Emily, the sharp voice of Mr. Gibson pierced the air. "Parker, what do you think you're doing? You're here to work, not entertain customers' children." Emily froze, the blue flower still clutched in her hand. Her heart thudded painfully. "Sir," she was upset. "I just wanted to help her calm down." Mr. Gibson's face reddened. "Excuses won't save you this time. You've overstepped. You're done here, Parker. Collect your things and leave." Emily's chest tightened. She looked down at Lily, whose small hands clutched the flower tightly now, eyes wide, confused. The warmth of the moment felt suddenly fragile, as if it could shatter. Alexander stepped forward, his voice calm but firm. "Mr. Gibson, she did not overstep. She did exactly what needed to be done. Your rules don't define compassion." Gibson's glare was icy. "I don't care who she is. Company policy is policy. Emily swallowed hard, emotion threatening to spill over. Lily's small voice broke through, trembling yet determined. Don't make her go, Daddy. She helped me. Alexander's eyes filled with tears he had long held back. He knelt to Lily's level. I see that, sweetheart. And so do I. Emily's apron fluttered as she turned toward the exit, but Alexander called after her. Wait. Please don't leave just yet. The store seemed to hold its breath. Customers paused mid-step. Shelves of brightly colored packages became background to the small, electric moment unfolding in the middle of aisle 9. Emily hesitated, then looked back, unsure if she was ready to hear what he might say. Her heart pounded in her chest, not from fear, but from hope she hadn't allowed herself to feel in a long time. Alexander continued, his voice steady but infused with emotion. I want you to know that what you did was more than just helping my daughter. It was an act of humanity, and that is priceless. Emily's eyes welled up. The world outside the fluorescent lights, the car horns, the city rush, the endless bills and worries, faded for a moment. In that quiet, chaotic grocery store, she realized that her small act of kindness had mattered more than she ever imagined. Lily looked up at her with awe and admiration. Can we play the flower game again? She asked softly. Emily nodded, blinking back tears. Of course, sweetheart. Let's do it together. And for that moment, the grocery store aisle transformed. It wasn't just a place of work or rules. It was a sanctuary of empathy, of quiet courage, of small, brave hearts reaching out to each other. The hum of refrigerators, the soft shuffle of carts, and the distant voices of other shoppers became the backdrop to a story of kindness, bravery, and connection. A story that was just beginning, one that would ripple far beyond the fluorescent lights of aisle. The fluorescent lights of Greenleaf Market flickered slightly as the late afternoon crowd thinned. Emily Parker stood behind the counter, mechanically scanning groceries, her mind somewhere else entirely. The blue fabric flower still rested in her apron pocket, a tiny talisman of the brief moment of connection she had shared with Lily. Every time she touched it, she felt the warmth of the little girl's trust, and yet, a gnawing unease weighed heavily in her chest. Mr. Gibson had left her with no words of comfort, only the echo of authority. Parker, your shift is over. You've crossed the line. Don't come back tomorrow. Emily couldn't even argue. The rules were rules, the manager's rigidity absolute. She knew arguing would be futile, but the unfairness of it cut deep. Helping a child, something so instinctively human, could now cost her everything. As the last few customers trickled out, she sat on the low stool behind the counter and pressed her forehead to her palms. Her thoughts raced, the rent due, her mother's medications, the groceries she still had to buy for the week. Her fingers clutched the flower tightly. Was kindness really a crime? She thought bitterly. Meanwhile, Alexander Hartwell lingered near the entrance, watching from a discreet distance. He was impressed, not just by Emily's calmness in handling Lily's meltdown, but by her courage. In that small act, he saw a quality that couldn't be taught in boardrooms or measured in balance sheets. A rare, sincere humanity. He observed how she returned to her tasks, organizing shelves with careful precision, helping an elderly customer reach for a can of soup, gently correcting a misplaced item with a soft smile. Every motion spoke of dedication, compassion, and pride. He could see why Lily had responded to her so immediately.
Emily worked in silence, her eyes occasionally flicking toward the aisle where Lily had been, imagining the girl holding the little flower tightly in her hands, breathing slowly, calming herself in the chaos. That image alone brought her a small comfort amid the anxiety of the reprimand. A few moments later, Mr. Gibson approached again, clipboard in hand. His expression was a mask of professional irritation, but there was something sharper beneath it, an unspoken need to assert control. Parker, he said, his voice low but sharp, I don't want to see this kind of behavior again. You think you're helping, but all you're doing is opening the store to liability. Understand? Emily lifted her eyes, holding his gaze with quiet defiance. I understand, sir. But I couldn't just watch a child suffer. Gibson's jaw tightened. He wanted anger, an apology, submission. Instead, he saw truth, and he hated it. He turned on his heel, leaving a silence heavy with unspoken tension. Emily exhaled slowly, letting her shoulders relax just enough to catch her breath. Later, in the quiet of the store after closing, she lingered in aisle 9, straightening the shelves she had already arranged a dozen times that day. The scent of the colorful candies, the crispness of the cereal boxes, the faint floral smell of cleaning wipes, all familiar, comforting, grounding. She ran her fingers along the neat rows, imagining Lily picking one candy, then another, smiling for the first time in days. "Emily." A soft voice startled her. She looked up to see a small voice, cautious but determined. Lily had returned, this time without her father. The little girl's eyes shone with a mix of curiosity and hope. She held the tiny flower firmly in her small hands. "Hi, Lily," Emily whispered, kneeling again. "Did you bring your flower?" Lily nodded vigorously. "I wanted to see you again." "The flower lady." Emily's chest tightened with emotion. She had never felt so recognized, so valued for simply being herself. "I'm glad you came back," she said. She guided Lily to the floor, showing her how to breathe slowly, how to focus on the little flower as a calming tool. As they sat together, a part of Emily's mind wandered. Why did kindness feel like such a burden here? She thought of all the rules, all the policies, all the warnings, and yet she could not deny the warmth of this simple connection. Just then, the automatic doors opened, and Alexander returned. This time, he was not observing from a distance. He walked directly toward Emily and Lily, kneeling beside the girl. "Hi, Emily," he said quietly, his voice low, genuine. "I wanted to thank you for today." Emily blinked, unsure of how to respond. Gratitude? Relief? Confusion? All three collided inside her. Alexander looked at Lily, who clutched the flower against her chest. "Lily told me how much you helped her." I think I should have been watching more closely myself. But you were there when it mattered." Emily's lips trembled, and she quickly looked away, afraid that tears might betray her. It's nothing, sir. I do what I can." Alexander's gaze softened. "It's everything." The weight of those words lingered long after he stepped back. Emily felt a mixture of warmth and trepidation. Her actions had been noticed, appreciated, even valued, but the looming presence of Mr. Gibson reminded her that in this place, authority still reigned. The following days became a delicate balance of hope and fear. Emily arrived each morning, unsure if she would be called aside, reprimanded further, or fired. Mr. Gibson's eyes were always on her, assessing, judging, threatening, even when he said nothing. Every small act of kindness felt both necessary and dangerous. She found solace in small victories, helping a nervous elderly customer find her groceries, reassuring a young boy who had dropped his backpack in the toy aisle, smiling genuinely at a stressed-out mother. Each smile was a shield, each kind word a thread weaving her inner strength. Lily, meanwhile, began returning daily, often with Alexander but sometimes on her own. She would greet Emily with a small blue flower, and together they played quiet games among the aisles. Every day, the bond deepened, and Emily began to see herself as a kind of anchor for the little girl, something stable in Lily's unpredictable world. Alexander observed from the background, often silently, his admiration growing. But the tension in the air was never far away. Mr. Gibson's disapproval was palpable. He loomed behind the counters, issuing strict directives and monitoring Emily's interactions. Every small smile or gentle gesture from Emily was met with his frown, his sharp notes in the clipboard, his quiet mutterings about protocol violations. One afternoon, as Emily helped Lily arrange boxes of fruit snacks by color and size, Mr. Gibson's voice rang out across the aisle. "Parker! Enough! Come with me. Now!" Emily's heart sank. She looked at Lily, whose wide brown eyes searched hers anxiously. I'll be right back," Emily whispered, brushing a loose strand of hair from Lily's forehead. She followed Gibson to the empty stockroom. The air was thick with tension, the fluorescent lights harsh. "Emily Parker," Gibson said, his voice cold, "you've overstepped for the last time." Helping a customer's child, engaging personally, this is unacceptable. You are terminated, effective immediately. Emily felt a cold shock run through her body. Her knees went weak. Words failed her, and all she could do was stare. You're fired, she finally managed, her voice barely above a whisper. Gibson nodded, holding the clipboard like a judge pronouncing a sentence. Take your things and leave. Consider this a lesson in knowing your place. Emily's mind raced. Bills, her mother, the little routines that held her life together, everything felt as if it were teetering on the edge. But then she thought of Lily, holding that blue flower, trusting her, looking to her for guidance. She swallowed hard, straightened her shoulders, and turned toward the exit. Outside, Alexander was waiting. His face was calm, but his eyes held fire and tenderness. Emily, he called, please wait. Don't leave yet. Emily froze, unsure what this could mean. For the first time in days, hope stirred in her chest, fragile but persistent. The little blue flower still clutched in her hand, she took a tentative step forward, ready to discover that even in the most ordinary places, extraordinary kindness could create ripples far beyond what anyone could imagine. The morning sun streamed faintly through the tall glass windows of Greenleaf Market, illuminating the quiet aisles that Emily had begun to consider her second home. Though she had been working there for years, today felt different. The events of the previous week, her brief but powerful interaction with Lily, the sharp reprimand from Mr. Gibson, and the subtle recognition from Alexander Hartwell, lingered in her thoughts like a soft echo she could not shake. Emily began her shift with the same meticulous care, straightening shelves, checking expiration dates, and greeting familiar customers with a warmth that had become her signature. She wore her apron with quiet dignity, as if it were armor against the harsh realities that awaited her in the store's shadows. But beneath her composed exterior, her mind churned with anxiety. She had seen how easily one act of kindness could become a source of conflict with Mr. Gibson, and yet the memory of Lily's small, trusting eyes pulled her forward. It was a delicate dance, balancing empathy with duty, her heart with the cold, rigid rules imposed by the manager. And yet, Emily knew that some moments were too precious to ignore. The small blue flower in her apron pocket, a token from her encounter with Lily, was a silent reminder that even in a world ruled by rules, human connection mattered more. The day progressed slowly. Customers came and went, some cheerful, some hurried, some burdened with the invisible weights of their lives. Emily helped each one with genuine care, offering words of comfort and assistance when she sensed anxiety or frustration. She had learned to read people in ways that went beyond the obvious, a trembling hand reaching for a canned good, a quick glance that betrayed worry, a hesitant child holding on to a parent. These subtle signals guided her actions, shaping a quiet tapestry of kindness that rippled throughout the store. Alexander Hartwell observed her from a distance, often lingering near the entrance or wandering between aisles under the pretense of shopping. He was drawn not by the merchandise but by Emily herself, her dedication, her empathy, and the effortless way she connected with people. He noticed how she knelt to help a small boy untangle his shoelaces in aisle 5, how she offered a patient smile to an elderly woman struggling to reach a shelf, and most importantly, how she treated Lily with a blend of gentleness and quiet authority that calmed the child immediately. Lily, for her part, had begun to look forward to her visits to the store. Though she was still cautious, the familiar presence of Emily provided a sense of stability that no other environment could offer. Emily had become her anchor, the person who made the overwhelming world of bright lights, noisy carts, and bustling shoppers feel safe. She carried the small blue flower everywhere, a tangible connection to the moments of calm Emily had given her. The bond between the two grew with each passing day, marked by small rituals and quiet games among the aisles. Emily taught Lily how to sort cereal boxes by color, how to arrange snack packs in neat rows, and how to take deep breaths while holding the little flower. Each act reinforced trust, not just between Emily and Lily, but within Emily herself. She realized that her ability to comfort and guide the little girl was a rare gift, one that transcended the strict rules of employment or the judgment of Mr. Gibson. But the tension with the manager was never far away. Mr. Gibson prowled the store like a shadow, his gaze following Emily wherever she moved. Every gentle word she spoke, every reassuring gesture, was met with his disapproving stare, his muttered comments about protocol violations, and the ever-present threat of termination. The atmosphere became a constant balancing act. Emily had to navigate her natural instincts to help and nurture, while avoiding the wrath of a man who valued rules over humanity. One afternoon, as Emily guided Lily through the aisles, a small accident occurred. A stack of canned goods toppled over, scattering across the floor. Lily froze, fear flashing in her eyes. Emily immediately knelt beside her, gently taking her hand and guiding her away from the mess. "It's okay, sweetie," she whispered. "We can fix this together." Alexander, who had been observing from a distance, stepped forward. He picked up a few cans and handed them to Lily, smiling encouragingly. "See? You can do it," he said softly. Lily's small fingers grasped the cans, and a tentative smile appeared on her face. The moment was simple, yet profound, a tangible representation of cooperation, trust, and the quiet power of human connection. Meanwhile, Mr. Gibson's expression darkened. He had watched the scene unfold with a mix of irritation and disbelief. "Emily," he barked. "This is exactly what I warned you about. You're creating chaos in the aisles, endangering customers, and ignoring your duties." Emily's heart raced, but she remained calm, her voice steady. "Sir, I am simply ensuring that the children and customers are safe and that everything is organized. This isn't chaos, it's care." Gibson's jaw tightened, the rigid lines of his face hardening. He looked around, as if seeking validation from the empty store, and then snapped his clipboard shut. "Enough. One more incident like this, and you're out. Do you understand?" Emily nodded, swallowing the lump in her throat. She knew she had to tread carefully. Yet the thought of abandoning Lily, of failing to provide the comfort the child had come to rely on, was unbearable. She promised herself silently, "I will not let fear dictate my actions. I will do what is right, no matter the consequences." That evening, as the store closed and the last customers left, Emily lingered in aisle 9. The soft hum of the refrigerators, the faint scent of freshly stocked produce, and the colorful arrangement of snacks created a sense of sanctuary. She held the blue flower in her hand, closing her eyes and breathing in deeply. The world outside, bills, worries, and the relentless pressures of life, faded for a moment. Here, in this small corner of the grocery store, she felt purpose, connection, and quiet hope. Alexander approached quietly, observing her reflection in the polished floor. He marveled at her resilience, her unwavering kindness, and the subtle courage that defined her every action. He realized that Emily Parker embodied a rare quality, one that no amount of wealth, power, or status could replicate: genuine empathy. Over the next few days, this quiet routine continued. Emily and Lily spent hours in the store, creating little rituals that brought calm and joy. They lined up cans by color, whispered stories to each other, and laughed softly as they arranged snack boxes into miniature towers. Alexander often joined them, guiding and observing, allowing the bond between the child and the worker to flourish naturally. But always, looming over these moments of tenderness, was Mr. Gibson. His disapproval, sharp words, and constant surveillance served as a reminder that the world often punishes kindness, that rules and authority could overshadow the most human of instincts. And yet, Emily persisted, driven by a quiet conviction that the right action was more important than the fear of consequences. In those long, gentle days, something extraordinary began to take shape. A ripple of kindness, started by Emily's simple act of compassion, spread through the aisles, touching customers, colleagues, and even the observing CEO. It was a reminder that in the most ordinary places, extraordinary moments of humanity could unfold, quietly but profoundly changing the lives of everyone. The sun had barely risen over the New York skyline, casting soft golden light across the streets as Emily Parker walked toward Greenleaf Market. Her hands clutched her apron tightly in her bag, and her heart pounded with a mixture of anticipation and dread. The previous week's events, the brief but life-changing interaction with Lily, the reprimand from Mr. Gibson, and the quiet acknowledgement from Alexander, still echoed in her mind. She knew today would be another test, another delicate balance of kindness and caution. Entering the store, Emily was greeted by the familiar scent of polished floors, fresh produce, and the faint aroma of baked goods from the corner bakery. Customers filtered in slowly, their conversations blending into the soft hum of refrigerators and the occasional beep of cash registers. Yet, despite the seemingly normal morning, Emily felt a subtle tension in the air. Mr. Gibson was already present, clipboard in hand, scanning the aisles with his usual piercing gaze. His eyes locked on Emily the moment she appeared, and a sharp line of disapproval creased his forehead. "Parker," he said, voice low but cutting, "I expect absolute focus today. One misstep, and you'll be out. Is that understood?" Emily nodded, forcing a calmness she didn't feel. "Yes, sir." As she began her shift, straightening shelves and assisting customers, her thoughts kept drifting to Lily. The little girl's trust, her quiet reliance on Emily, was a constant reminder of why she persisted despite the ever-present threat of termination. A few hours into the morning, Lily arrived with Alexander, her small hand clutching the familiar blue flower. She ran toward Emily with a soft smile, and Emily bent down to greet her, brushing a strand of hair from the child's forehead. "Good morning, Lily," Emily whispered. "Ready for another adventure?" The little girl nodded eagerly, and the two of them wandered down aisle 9, arranging snack boxes, counting colorful cereals, and playing their quiet, comforting game. Alexander followed closely behind, watching silently as the bond between the two deepened. It was a simple, tender scene, a moment of peace amidst the bustle of the grocery store. Yet, the shadow of Mr. Gibson loomed. He paced the aisle, his eyes narrowing each time Emily spoke to Lily or guided her in their small activities. Every gentle touch, every patient word, was a violation in his rigid world of rules and authority. As the afternoon crowd surged, Emily continued to perform small acts of kindness for each customer, helping an elderly woman reach the top shelf, offering a comforting word to a nervous teenager searching for ingredients, and kneeling to help a child who had dropped a box of cookies. Alexander watched each interaction, his admiration growing steadily. He recognized something rare, true empathy, untainted by personal gain or recognition. But tension always had a way of breaking through. "Parker!" Mr. Gibson's voice cut across the aisle like a whip. "What do you think you're doing? This is not playtime. You are here to work, not babysit or entertain children." Emily froze, her hand still on the box of cereal she had just straightened. She glanced at Lily, whose eyes were wide with fear, and then back at Gibson. "Sir, I'm ensuring the safety and comfort of a customer. She is just a child, and she's overwhelmed by the store." Gibson's expression hardened. "I don't care. Rules are rules. If you cannot follow them, you'll find yourself out the door. This is your final warning." Emily's chest tightened. She knew the warning was no empty threat. Losing this job would mean financial instability, hardship for her mother, and the loss of the small, meaningful impact she had made on the lives of those around her. She forced herself to take a deep breath, steadying her trembling hands. She could not let fear dictate her actions. She could not abandon Lily, or any child, for the sake of a rigid authority figure. As the day progressed, a subtle miracle began to unfold. Customers who had observed Emily's kindness began to respond in kind. An elderly man who had been struggling with his shopping offered a sincere thank you and a small smile that warmed Emily's heart. A young mother quietly whispered her gratitude for Emily's patience with her restless child. These small gestures, though seemingly insignificant, created a ripple effect that reached beyond the aisles, touching the lives of everyone present. Alexander, ever the observer, could see the impact of Emily's actions. He saw not just her ability to comfort a child, but her capacity to inspire hope, trust, and gratitude in the hearts of those around her. Each moment reinforced his belief that true leadership and value were measured not by wealth or authority, but by empathy and courage. As the store quieted in the late afternoon, Emily knelt beside Lily one final time, guiding her through a breathing exercise with the small blue flower. The child's eyes sparkled with trust and joy, a reflection of the profound connection they shared. But just as a moment of calm settled over the aisle, Mr. Gibson appeared once more, his face etched with irritation and anger. "Parker," he barked. "One more incident like today, and you're finished. Do you understand?" Emily met his gaze steadily. "Yes, sir. I understand, But deep inside, she knew that the true battle was not against Gibson's authority, but against a world that sometimes punished kindness. And yet, she remained resolute. She would continue to act with compassion, no matter the risk, because some moments, like Lily's smile, were worth every hardship. Later that evening, as Emily left the store, her thoughts were heavy but filled with purpose. She carried the weight of a day, the reprimands, the small victories, the laughter of a child, the quiet gratitude of strangers, but also the realization that her actions mattered. That even in a world dominated by rules and rigidity, a single act of kindness could create a ripple, touching lives in ways that no one could anticipate. Alexander watched from his car across the street, contemplating the woman who had defied protocol not out of rebellion, but out of humanity. He realized that Emily Parker embodied everything he valued most: courage, empathy, and an unwavering commitment to do what is right, even when the consequences were uncertain. As the store lights dimmed, and the city outside continued its relentless rhythm, a quiet truth settled in the hearts of those who had witnessed Emily's actions, that compassion, no matter how small, was a force capable of creating change, sometimes subtle, sometimes profound, but always meaningful. And in that quiet, ordinary grocery store, a story of courage, empathy, and the extraordinary power of human connection continued to unfold, leaving everyone who witnessed it a little changed, a little lighter, and a little more hopeful. "Parker, step into my office. Now." Emily's stomach dropped. She glanced at Lily, who clutched her flower tightly, looking both confused and worried. She whispered softly to the child, "I'll be right back, okay? Stay with Mr. Hartwell for a moment." Lily nodded, though her eyes were brimming with unshed tears. The Starkroom office was cold and uninviting. Gibson's face was a mask of displeasure, his hands gripping his clipboard as though it were a weapon. "Emily Parker," he began, voice tight with anger, "you have ignored repeated warnings. Your actions are inappropriate, unprofessional, and unacceptable. You have overstepped your duties one too many times. Effective immediately, you are terminated from this store." Emily's heart sank. Her world seemed to tilt on its axis. Bills, obligations, and the fragile stability of her life pressed against her chest like an iron weight. She swallowed hard, fighting to maintain composure. "Sir, I only ever tried to help. I didn't mean to. Intentions do not matter." Gibson snapped. "Company rules exist for a reason. Consider this your last day." Her voice caught in her throat. Emily felt the walls close in, the fluorescent lights above her suddenly harsh and unforgiving. But even as fear threatened to overtake her, she drew a deep breath and remembered Lily's trusting eyes, the way the small blue flower had calmed the child. She couldn't let fear control her actions. Kindness was worth the risk. "Mr. Gibson," she said softly, but with quiet determination, "I understand your rules. But I also know when a child needs help and when empathy matters more than protocol. I will always choose to do what is right, no matter the consequences." Gibson's face darkened, anger mixed with incredulity. He had expected submission, apology, or at least fear. Instead, he found calm resolve, courage, and unwavering conviction. Meanwhile, Alexander, who had been observing quietly from the doorway, stepped forward. His presence commanded attention. "Gibson," he said firmly, voice carrying a calm authority, "I think you need to reconsider. Emily Parker's actions are not violations, they are acts of humanity. Her integrity, compassion, and courage are exactly what this world, and this store, needs." Gibson stiffened, staring at the CEO, then back at Emily. The tension in the room was almost unbearable. Alexander continued, his eyes locking on Emily's. "I've watched her care for your customers, for Lily, and for everyone around her. Her empathy is rare, her courage inspiring. If anyone should be recognized, supported, and celebrated, it is her, not punished." For a brief moment, silence filled the Starkroom. Emily's heart pounded so loudly she feared it would betray her composure. She had never expected anyone in a position of power to intervene on her behalf. And yet, Alexander's quiet, unwavering presence gave her a glimmer of hope she hadn't dared to feel in days. Lily, having followed quietly, stepped closer, holding the small blue flower out to Emily. "I want you to stay," she whispered. "Please don't go." Emily knelt, hugging the child gently. Tears pricked her eyes, a mixture of relief, fear, and gratitude. "I'm not going anywhere, Lily," she whispered. Gibson's jaw tightened. He looked between the CEO, the child, and the unwavering Emily. For the first time, he seemed unsure, powerless against the undeniable force of human connection that filled the room. Alexander placed a reassuring hand on Emily's shoulder. "Your actions have reminded me of what matters most. I will ensure you are treated fairly, and that your compassion is never punished again. People like you don't come around often, Emily. You have changed my perspective and potentially the lives of countless others." Emily felt the weight of exhaustion lift slightly from her shoulders. Though the world outside remained complicated, uncertain, and often harsh, this moment, this recognition, was a testament to the power of kindness, courage, and unwavering empathy. As the day drew to a close, Emily returned to aisle 9, walking beside Lily, guiding her through the familiar calming exercises, and feeling a sense of purpose stronger than ever before. The store, once a place of tension and strict rules, had transformed into a sanctuary of hope, compassion, and quiet heroism. And in that ordinary grocery store, amid aisles of cereal, candy, and canned goods, a profound truth unfolded: even the smallest acts of kindness could ripple outward, touching lives in ways that no one could predict, and sometimes changing the world in subtle, yet extraordinary ways. The late afternoon light in Greenleaf Market cast long shadows across the polished aisles. Emily Parker's feet moved steadily, almost mechanically, but her mind was a storm of thoughts and emotions. Every step reminded her of the consequences of her actions: Mr. Gibson's disapproval, the threat of termination, the precariousness of her mother's medical bills, and the mounting pressure of daily life. Yet, intertwined with that anxiety was the quiet, unshakable thread of purpose, the knowledge that her small acts of kindness were changing the lives of those around her. As she approached aisle 9, she saw Lily waiting, the familiar blue flower clutched tightly in her tiny hands. Emily knelt beside her, guiding the child through their routine, slow breaths, gentle movements, and soft, comforting words. Each time Lily's body relaxed, Emily felt a surge of hope and validation. The chaos of the outside world, the strict rules imposed by Mr. Gibson, and the relentless pressure of her personal responsibilities all seemed to fade in the presence of this simple, human connection. Alexander Hartwell, standing quietly nearby, observed them with a sense of profound admiration. He had watched Emily navigate fear, authority, and the unpredictability of the store environment with unwavering courage. Her acts of empathy, small as they might seem, demonstrated a rare strength, one that no amount of wealth, status, or corporate training could replicate. He made a mental note to ensure that her dedication and humanity were recognized, not punished. The tranquility was short-lived. Mr. Gibson appeared abruptly, his footsteps sharp against the tile floor. His eyes were fixed on Emily, a storm of irritation and authority visible in every line of his face. "Parker," he barked. "Do you have any idea how many rules you've broken today? How many times you disrupted the store's operations?" Emily's chest tightened, but she met his gaze calmly. "Sir, I'm ensuring the safety and well-being of the customers and Lily. Every action I've taken is in their best interest." Gibson's face turned a deeper shade of red. "Best interest? You're overstepping your duties. If you continue this behavior, you'll be out immediately. Do you understand?" Emily swallowed hard. Fear tugged at her, but she refused to let it dictate her actions. "I understand, sir," she said quietly, yet her voice carried a firm resolve. "But I will continue to do what is right, even if it goes against your rigid rules." Lily's small voice broke the tension, filled with innocence and earnest concern. "Don't make her leave, Daddy. She helps me." Emily glanced at the child, her heart swelling with emotion. She knelt beside Lily and whispered, "I'm not going anywhere, sweetie. I promise." Alexander stepped forward, placing a firm but gentle hand on Emily's shoulder. His voice carried authority, calm but unyielding. "Mr. Gibson, enough. Emily Parker's actions are not violations, they are acts of compassion. Her integrity and courage are commendable, not punishable. Gibson's glare shifted to Alexander, who held the gaze unwaveringly. Her actions have inspired trust and safety for your customers, especially this child, Alexander continued, nodding toward Lily. That is more valuable than any rigid adherence to rules. Do you understand? The manager's face tightened, his lips pressed into a thin line. For the first time, he seemed unsure, confronted by an authority greater than his own. Emily felt a flicker of hope. Perhaps fairness could prevail after all. As the store's activity resumed around them, Emily took a deep breath and allowed herself a small smile. Lily returned it, her eyes bright with relief and admiration. Alexander watched silently, impressed by the courage and composure Emily exhibited despite the looming threat. The next few days passed with cautious calm. Emily continued her work with the same unwavering dedication, helping customers, guiding Lily through small rituals, and maintaining her meticulous attention to detail. Alexander frequently visited the store, sometimes purchasing items, sometimes simply observing Emily in her element. He noted every act of empathy, every quiet gesture of kindness, and each small victory in calming anxious or distressed customers. Mr. Gibson's irritation did not subside, but the manager's authority began to feel diminished in the face of Emily's consistent excellence and Alexander's subtle but unmistakable approval. The store itself seemed transformed by Emily's presence. Customers smiled more readily, children responded to her warmth, and the atmosphere grew less tense with each passing day. One afternoon, as Emily helped Lily reach for a box of crackers, she noticed a group of regular customers quietly observing her. A young couple whispered words of gratitude, an elderly woman offered a shy smile, and a mother nodded appreciatively. Each small acknowledgement strengthened Emily's resolve and reminded her why her acts of kindness mattered. Alexander, standing discreetly nearby, considered the broader implications. In a world often dominated by rules, protocols, and authority, acts of empathy could create ripples far beyond the immediate moment. Emily Parker was proof of that truth. But the tension was not gone entirely. Mr. Gibson continued to watch, and Emily knew that any misstep could result in another confrontation. She also understood that the true test was not just in her interactions with Lily or customers, but in maintaining her integrity and compassion under constant scrutiny. One late afternoon, as the store prepared to close, a situation arose that would test Emily's resolve like never before. A small boy had wandered away from his mother and was crying near the checkout lanes. Without hesitation, Emily rushed to his side, kneeling and speaking softly to calm him. She guided him back to his mother, ensuring he was safe and comforted. Mr. Gibson arrived seconds later, furious. "Parker! This is exactly what I warned you about. You cannot prioritize personal whims over duty." Emily stood her ground. "Sir, I was ensuring the child's safety. That is part of the responsibility we have as employees and as human beings." Gibson's face contorted with anger. "Consider this your final warning. One more incident, and you will be terminated immediately." Alexander, who had been observing quietly, intervened once again. "Gibson, she acted correctly. What she did prevented potential harm and created trust. That is the standard we should uphold, not punish." Gibson's jaw tightened, and he seemed to realize that his power in this situation was limited. Emily's courage, coupled with Alexander's authority, had shifted the balance. As the evening settled, Emily found herself walking through the aisles with Lily, her heart full of gratitude and purpose. The small blue flower rested in her hand, a symbol of the connection that had begun in the chaotic hum of Greenleaf Market and grown into something profound. She realized that even in the face of fear, judgment, and authority, her compassion and integrity had remained unshaken. She had risked her job, her stability, and her comfort, but in doing so, she had made a difference, a real, tangible difference in the lives of others. And in that ordinary grocery store, amidst the colorful shelves, soft hum of refrigerators, and gentle laughter of children, a quiet transformation had taken place. Emily Parker had shown that kindness was not weakness, empathy was not frivolity, and courage was not always loud. Sometimes, it was quiet, steady, and unwavering, a force that could ripple outward and touch the lives of everyone it encountered.